As someone who has experienced the signs of both high and low cortisol and has tested for both, let's get into the signs of both of these. Welcome to the channel. My name is Kiran. I'm a woman's hormone balance coach, and this channel is dedicated to hormone harmony for vibrant living. So if that sounds like something you're into, definitely hit subscribe. Now, in today's video, we're going to discuss how cortisol works, signs of high versus low cortisol. Can you have both? We'll talk about that, as well as next steps, which will include how you can take key steps to support a healthy cortisol pattern. Now, let's begin with how cortisol works. This is our body's stress hormone that allows us to interact with our external environment, right? Your brain receives a signal from your environment and sends a signal to your adrenal glands where cortisol is produced and secreted into your bloodstreams. These are glands that sit on top of your kidneys, as seen in this image right here. Now, I go deeper into how your stress response works in a separate video that I'll link below. But what you really need to know about cortisol is that it follows a diurnal pattern. There's a healthy pattern that it goes through in a day. It peaks in the morning and drops throughout the day, dropping around nighttime, as you can see, so you can get that deep, restful, restorative sleep and rises again. And this image, it really shows you the relationship between cortisol and melatonin. Now, this cortisol secretion pattern, it can be altered. And the biggest thing is by stressors in our environment, right? Whether it's stressors from our lack of sleep, not getting outside, always being on the go, right? These stressors are what are leading you to feeling like you're burnt out, you're tired but wired. So let's get into the signs of high versus low cortisol. High cortisol signs. This can look like difficulty falling or staying asleep. And another one is that waking up around 3 a.m. in the morning. I actually have a video on how to beat the 3 a.m. wake up, which I'll link below. Unexplained weight gain, particularly around your belly. You're feeling wired, but you're overstimulated, like you're exhausted. So you want to go to bed, but you're just wired. You're tired, can't fall asleep. Digestive issues are huge, right? Like bloating or indigestion, because what stress does is it does not prioritize digestion at all, and that's kind of left on the back burner. What low cortisol can look like is that you're dragging yourself to get out of bed in the morning. You're consistently lacking energy in your day. You might have that dip in the afternoon, so you go for a coffee or something with caffeine to keep you going. Feeling anxious, you're wired, and craving salty foods because cortisol regulates sodium. And when cortisol is low, there will not be enough sodium retention in your body. Now, my question for you is, can you have high and low cortisol? I posted about cortisol on my Instagram and I had people saying, I'm experiencing signs of both. Can you have low and high? And the answer to that is yes. As we know, cortisol follows that diurnal pattern. And I'm going to show you on this image, which is actually a cortisol test taken many years ago of mine from one of my favorite functional tests, the Dutch test. And what you can see here is that cortisol was measured 4 times: waking, morning, afternoon, and nighttime. You can see the low range limit as well as the high range limit, and a healthy cortisol pattern is somewhere in between. Now, if we look at the waking cortisol, we see that it's lower than the low range limit. So, what that looks like is low morning cortisol, right when you wake up. This looks like dragging yourself out of bed. Then we go to your morning cortisol, which is when your cortisol typically peaks about half an hour after you get out of bed. That, in this case, is within range. Then you go into the afternoon, it drops again. Nighttime, it is within range. Now, as you can see, with these 4 measurements, some can be high, some can be low, and that is why it is so important to test your cortisol to see. And this is why blood work does not give you the full picture. So it's important to work with someone, a functional practitioner, to get a lab done like the Dutch or an SHP so that you can see what your true pattern looks like. This is why it is possible to have symptoms of both high and low morning cortisol. Now, in this video, we discussed how cortisol works, signs of both high and low cortisol. Whether you can have both, we now know the answer. My next step for you is my video where I dive deeper into how stress impacts your hormone health, and I leave you with 5 ways that you can support a healthy cortisol response. So if that's something you're in for, I will leave the link below for you to check out. As always, like this video so that it can reach more people, especially women, because my channel is all about women's hormones and hormone harmony for vibrant living. If that's something you're up for, definitely hit subscribe and let me know. Do you think you have high or low cortisol? Which of the two, or do you think you're a mix of both? As always, I am sending you so much love wherever you are, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.
I wanna know your name. Baby, you're bubbly and radiant. You got some flavor and I'm trying to savor it. Palm gripped on the fruit.